I love to see the towns passing by and to ride these rails neath God's blue sky. Let me travel this land from the mountains to the sea, 'cause that's the life I believe He meant for me. And when I'm gone and at my grave you stand, say God called home your rambling man.
Welcome to Ramblin' Man Podcast, episode number 99. This one's with Chris Battle with Battlefield Farm and Gardens. It's great to sit down and talk to Chris, or Pastor Chris. His story and everything contained within this episode is pretty fascinating. We recorded it at the farm, and there's a road right beside it. So if there's any kind of noise or anything, a car's driving by, and I know an ambulance drove by at one point, I apologize, but it's too good of a conversation not to post it. If you'd like to learn more about Chris and what he's doing with Battlefield Farm and Gardens, you can find him on Facebook /Battlefield Farm and Gardens, and you can find him on Instagram at Battlefield Farm. Appreciate him for being on and hope he starts his podcast soon. Sponsor this week is Feral Giant. Feral Giant is a graphic design, illustration, and social media consultation company based here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So they do work for clients big and small all over the country, all over the globe, in fact. But they also do photography, videography, video editing, and audio editing, website design, SEO, writing, content development. Hell, they'll babysit your kids if it nets them money. So make sure you give them a follow on social media on either Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn at Feral Giant. And be sure to give them an email today and hire them for your next project. Without much further ado, here's the episode. Because this is episode 99. So I somehow have gotten very fortunate to know a lot of people. And because of that, I was sitting at on a friend's deck one night, and one guy who hangs art for rich people in Boston, and he's also an artist. I didn't know that was a job, but we started talking about art, and it's like he, of course, is high end, all that stuff, and then my buddy is a photojournalist that has been nominated for a few Pulitzers, and then there's me that went to Fulton High School that has a hard time drawing stick figures, but when it comes to the computer, I can draw. But when it comes to by hand, it's not that great. And hearing almost like upper class, middle class, lower class version of art.
So you're the proletariat.
I'm the proletariat. I'm the without talent is what I am. the anti-talent. And but then the next night, it was the same photojournalist guy, another guy who's like, I'm thinking about getting into astronomy. And I was like, okay. And we talked for 5 minutes. I was like, holy crap, hold on a minute. I thought you said astrology. And I thought you were going to start reading my palm or something. And I was like, how funny would that have been? I was like, oh, okay. So, I'm a Scorpio rising. And what does that? I was like, if you just heard the wrong thing. So I was like, I have too many friends who are knowledgeable and stuff not to do stuff like this.
Gotcha.
So I've driven to Georgia to interview a guy who wrote for ESPN the magazine, and then he got fed up with dealing with the corporate stuff. Moved back here, drove for Uber and Lyft, and wrote about all the people he met driving Uber and Lyft. Oh, cool. It's a great book. But yeah, I've gotten really fortunate in who I've gotten to meet and talk to on this. Yeah. So I know that Aaron volunteers here.
Aaron is a wonderful volunteer here.
She's been on the podcast twice.
Okay.
And she likes to fuss at me. I'll give her a hard time because every time she comes on, she fusses at me about something. I don't know. She just picks one thing. And
I'm not going to say what I'm thinking.
Oh, God, I love it. I love it. This is the first thing to get cut. Oh, God. But no, I love Aaron Death. But, yeah, she's been on twice. Like, she talked about CrossFit, and then she talked about doing CrossFit. She taught CrossFit in Qatar. Like, she just...
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Huh.
and that's about the time that she came out. She talked about her coming out story, and it's very fascinating. And that one, we were downtown in Crutch Park. I call it Crutch. And we had homeless people coming up to us the entire time. I was like, we have bonus guests on this episode. Hey, man, how are you? What do you like to talk about? But, yeah, I think everybody... I know that sounds stupid at this point, but everybody should start one. If you think you've got a story to tell. I always tell people, if you can figure out like an elevator pitch, like this is what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
The only thing I say is make sure the sound is good, and whenever you release it, like say I release this every other Monday. Don't miss a Monday.
Consistency.
Yeah, and that's what builds you up. Like right now, I think I just crossed 30,000 downloads.
Wow.
In 98 episodes. So I don't promote it that much.
And I'm 99.
You're going to shoot me to 40,000.
There's a song. My great-grandfather died a month after his 100th birthday.
Oh, wow.
And there's a song we sang in the Baptist church growing up. I'm out here trying to make 100. 99 and a half won't do. So I'm going to have to do 2 episodes because I want to be 100.
So the funny part is the person who was on for episode 1 is on episode 100.
Gotcha.
And at the end of us, we've already pre-recorded that one. I told her, I was like, well, I'll see you in episode 200. See you in 4 years.
I'm sure it'll be quicker than that. Yeah. Well, if you do it every 2 weeks, I guess.
Yeah. She, her episode was about mountain biking in the Czech Republic.
Wow.
But we also talked about Tinder and dating, which was a nightmare and hilarious.
Yeah.
But
I didn't grow up in that era.
I didn't grow up in it. I'm just stuck in it.
I grew up when you had to ask a girl for a phone number, then dial it on a rotary. And
oh my God, on a rotary. Oh God. Yeah. That's one of those videos I like seeing on YouTube where they hand kids a rotary.
It's hilarious.
Oh my God. Are you originally from?
I'm from Cincinnati originally.
Oh, okay.
That's my hometown.
Cincinnati's a trip now because it kind of started getting bigger, and then all of a sudden Columbus just.
Well, I've lived there. I haven't lived there in like 15 years, but that's home. Columbus is a little ways from us, about an hour and a half or so.
Yeah, it was always thought Cleveland was the biggest city, then Cincinnati, then Columbus.
Well, we're so big.
Yeah.
That we had to put our airport in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the lie I'm staying with.
Now I'm seeing the red and the red truck. Oh, okay. Now I see the Cincinnati.
I almost wore my Bengals mask today too. Bungles, I should say.
What was it like growing up? Because that's still a fairly big city.
I grew up in the outskirts in a neighborhood called Blue Ash.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, in the African American section in the hood, that was called Hazelwood.
Okay.
And it was interesting. It was interesting for me, but I did not realize it until my latter years.
Okay.
Because I grew up in a black neighborhood, had black parents, went to a black church, but went to an all-white school system.
Okay.
And 1,500 when I graduated, 52 minorities there.
Good Lord.
I said minorities.
Yeah.
Okay.
So wow.
Yeah. Okay. And did not realize the effect that it had on me.
Yeah.
And until I went to Morehouse College, it was
all
male African American.
Yeah.
And my nickname my freshman year was White Boy.
Oh my God. So I'll give you a little. So I grew up here, and I grew up on the east side. I grew up usually being the only white person in there. I never got called White Boy. Wait, I did. There was a place on Magnolia called Sarge's Barbecue, and I went in there one day, and I asked him, I said, can I have the hottest hot? And he looked me up and down. He's like, your white boy digestive system cannot handle it. I was like, come on, man. I grew up over here, man. Come on. And he was like, no, I'm not going to do that to you. He's like, your dad will kill me. No, your mom will kill me.
Have mercy on you.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah. So it was interesting. I mean, I still have good friendships. I still talk with people online that I graduated with and everything. But yet, during the previous administration, there's a few of them I had to block.
Yeah. That's and
I'll just leave it at that.
There are some people that I would see stuff and just almost go like, "Oh, you're smarter than this. Come on, man!" Yeah. Like it was just so weird, and so it's still weird.
It is the I wasn't for Trump. I wasn't an anti-Trumper. I just wasn't for him. Initially, I wasn't for him because of his inexperience.
Okay.
You know, I'm like, if I'm a football coach, I'm not going to elect him or vote him to be the football coach. Why? Because he has no experience.
Right.
Why would I give him the highest position in the world?
The keys to the kingdom.
The keys to the kingdom.
Yeah.
And this man has absolutely no experience, no diplomacy, nothing. And bam.
Yeah.
It just, and then all the other things that came after that when I started really learning about him. And then what I think bugged me, I have a master's in divinity, so I'm a pastor.
Oh, okay.
And I've pastored for 40 years now, I guess.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And how he was elevated to Jesus status just... I'm like, I used to watch this dude on Howard Stern.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I know we didn't come to talk about that.
No. Well, I will say what's funny is you're hitting on the tail end of the last episode. My cousin has a degree in political science.
Okay.
And I've been involved with politics at a local level since 6th or 7th grade. So there where I grew up when we moved out closer to Easttown Mall, a developer came in and wanted to build apartments in the plot of land right next door, and it was going to be something like 300 people. I'm gonna let that pass by.
Yeah.
I think
these cars are so rude when you're trying to record. They just come by and make all the noise. And
I take that back. It wasn't 300 people. I think it was something like 900 people in like 8 acres.
Wow.
And it was only going to have one point of entrance and exit right by our driveway. And my dad was like, hell no, that's not going to happen. And so he got really involved, and he's been president of his neighborhood organization since like 1991.
Wow.
But it's funny because he's, like I said before we got on my truck driver, he'd show up city council meetings in like work boots, shorts with oil and grease on him, his shirt all sweat stained and I would have to write his speeches for him. Because he was like, oh, you're taking English. You know how to say that stuff, right? Write it up for me. Here's what I want to say. So I got involved with that. And my cousin and I, the last episode was called The Cult of Politics. I was like, it seems like it has no rhyme or reason anymore. It's your one side. It's like, it's not that simple.
Yeah.
It's not that simple.
I think the tenor of politics has changed drastically. I know in my lifetime, there was a time when Congress and Senate, they truly cared about an issue, just had different perspectives, different approaches to it, and then worked it out. Yeah. I mean, this country was built on compromise. Yeah. You worked it out. But now it's like, we're going to stand our ground, and then we're going to demonize you. And I'm sure that was going on as well, but there was a greater sense of camaraderie. Yeah, I think that went along with it, and civility. That I think that I pray we get back to quickly.
Well, the old joke was that they would sit there and argue all day in Congress, and then go and have a beer afterwards. I think that's the broader thing of this country is like, I have been asking a lot of people here lately, like, do you think this country is a good idea? And see what people, because I'm curious to hear what people think about that.
I've literally had this conversation.
Oh,
and I think the idea of America is wonderful, fantastic, beautiful, if you're a white male.
yeah,
And I think the issue now is, and I think it's always been,
oh yeah,
but the 2020 census says that there's less of y'all, and
yeah,
like whoa,
yeah.
and I think part of that is some of the pushback that we're
Yeah.
getting here, and of course racism never died.
No,
It never died, but and I mean all the other isms
yeah,
they're still around. But I think that all that has to play with some of the tension that's
Yeah.
going on now.
well,
Then again, it may be, and my hope is that it's growing pains.
yeah,
That we're going in the right direction. But I mean, there's change. Change brings a change.
Yeah.
Like how do I adjust to this?
Yeah.
How do I make this? Make these changes in my life and things. So.
well, I always feel like I'm weirdly down. I always call myself a centrist. I was like, I have extreme views one way or the other. I was like, but I also grew up in abject poverty, and still remember my mom worked for the phone company, and when she got pregnant with my little sister, she was 40, and at that time that was odd, and she got laid out. She had to essentially stop working, and Dad got laid off. The trucking company he worked for shut down, and he had to work like 3 jobs.
How old are you?
I'm 42. I'll be 43 next
okay.
month. My sister's 11 and a half years younger than me.
Okay.
And had to work 3 jobs at 3 different trucking companies just to try and make it. And so I say all that to say, now I have a lot of friends because I'm in the arts who are very left-leaning art people. It's a horrible joke, but I always say, I cannot be the blackest person because I grew up on the inside. And I was like, for a lot of you, I am. And you got to reassess your values.
Yeah.
And I was like, you got to go meet people, man, because what is...
It's so interesting to me when George Floyd was murdered. My text, email, and phone was blowing up with my white friends here in town.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, y'all were exhausting.
Well, so at the same time, I was doing, I was like, I looked at all my white friends, like, where have y'all been?
Yeah.
How did you not know this was happening?
They were reaching out to Chris. What can we do? What can we do?
Yeah.
Well, man, I feel for you. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I said, racism is your problem.
Yeah.
I'm the victim.
Yeah.
You don't ask a rape victim, how to stop the rapist.
No.
You need to deal with the rapist.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, I told him, I think if racism is ever to be alleviated, obliterated, it's going to take good people like you to address it when you see it.
Yeah.
Confront it. That's what it's going to take for you to get some balls.
So
and not ask me the victim.
No.
What can we do?
So I always a little back. God, I hate to make this about me, but it's funny. Like I realized in last year as like the anomaly of how I was raised and how I grew up. Like where my grandparents lived, they were staunch. Let me go back. My grandmother was staunch Baptist. My grandfather never stepped foot in a church because he grew up really rough, and then he went and fought in the Pacific during World War II and saw stuff that nobody should ever have to see. And I think he was just like, that can be her thing. That is not my thing.
That's World War II.
Yeah,
that was the death of God theology began to start too. Yeah, but that's a whole other thing. But go ahead.
And then across the street from my grandparents was an older couple that literally had tattoos on their arms. Mm-hmm. They were a concentration camp. And then the family that lived behind us were Catholic. And then I grew up on the east side being the only white guy. I was like, I got to be the one person in Knoxville. Like, it was so weird. And I was so lucky. I consider myself really lucky because also I remember my grandfather who grew up in the sticks there was one year at Christmas he made some comment, and he was like, I don't know why this got brought up. He was like, "Yeah, I did not raise my boys to say the N-word. We don't say that in this." And I was like, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." Like, I never said that growing up, but I was just like, I feel like he would probably punch you in the face if you said that.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, and here's a guy who was born in 1917. For him to have that opinion, like, it just keeps going. And then one last thing is my dad and I, he used to take me bar hopping when I was a kid.
I love your dad already.
Yeah, I'd be sitting there drinking my little Shirley Temples because they came with a little plastic sword, and I was sitting there and I was 5 or 6 on the bar stool drinking my little Shirley Temple with probably like four of those swords just barreling through so I can get more. And he was sitting there talking to a guy who was sitting on the other side of him that had a tattoo, like he was a sailor. That was back when only sailors and bikers had tattoos.
And Mr. Clean.
Oh, God, yeah, I'm Mr. Clean. And that guy just started saying the N-word to my dad. And my dad just looked over his shoulder at me, looked at that guy, and whenever the finger come up, you knew it was bad. Okay. Yeah, I saw that. But he looked and he's like, "If you don't stop saying that word, my son's going to get off that stool, come over here, whip your ass, and then go back to sitting over there." And the guy looked at me, looked up and down my dad, because my dad's 6'4", probably 300 pounds at that point, truck driver dude. And he was like, and he just grabbed his beer and walked away. I was like, and I've told friends, like those more left-leaning friends, I was like, I can't explain to you how fortunate I am to have the family and grow up in the environment that I did, to feel cared about, and even growing up on the east side, like never getting called cracker or honky. No, it was only that's Big Jody. Big Jody was my nickname.
Right. Okay.
That's Big Jody. Yeah, we don't mess with Big Jody. Like, how lucky I am to where I almost try and tell those stories to be like, you got to think about that. Like, you grew up around all white people. You don't just be. Just
be. Yeah. Wouldn't that be wonderful if we just let people be?
Yeah. So I don't know. It's all that's kind of wild. That. What was Cincinnati like back then? Was it was still pretty segregated?
I think as of 08, 09, it was still considered one of the most segregated cities in America.
I would have thought, I think Boston is like...
Yeah, Boston's probably way up there. Yeah. But I mean, it's home.
Yeah.
And I loved it, I grew up with the Big Red Machine, all them guys, Pete Rose, Johnny Bench, and all them cats. Lee May. And so, I mean, for me, it was, and again, I grew up in the suburbs.
Right.
Okay? So I didn't know city life.
Okay.
Really,
okay.
But except for the the Reds and the Bengals, and but it was good.
Okay.
I mean, I had a good childhood. I think I was a little protected.
Okay.
I just didn't see a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Because a lot of things you don't see in the burbs.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You just don't see.
Yeah.
And then when I moved to Atlanta, I'm like, what is that?
Oh my God.
I'll never forget one of the guys on my floor said, "Chris, close your mouth."
Oh God. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. When you were growing up, though, since you were out in the burbs, did you all have like a little garden or anything in the back?
Yeah, man. We always had a garden. My grandfather. Well, so in the neighborhood, me and my parents lived here, and my sister. My grandparents lived right next to us.
Wow.
My grandmother's brother lived next door to them. My Aunt Will and Uncle Herb lived around the corner.
Wow.
And Aunt Chris and Uncle George lived about a few blocks from them.
Oh, my God.
So it was really a community of about 7, 8 major families or large families, But yeah, man, everybody seemed to have a garden. My grandfather, my fondest memory is my grandfather out there tilling the garden, and I'd be walking behind him. I was probably 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And I'd have to jump to get into his footprint that he had left from the tilled ground. I knew 2 of my great grandfathers
Oh,
I
wow.
mean, well.
Okay.
And both of them had, one I think had 150 acres, another one had 300 acres. So it was kind of in the blood, I guess.
Yeah.
Farming was in the blood.
And I wonder how much of that is like when I grew up, my paternal grandmother is from Eastern Kentucky. And it was always like everybody, the minute you moved out of the house or whatever, and you got to, like it would all, this different times too. This is also a weird thing. The husband would get the job, the wife would stay at home with the kids, but they would always buy like 5 acres or something so they could grow essentially their own food, corn, whatever.
Right.
And even when my grandmother and grandfather, they bought, I think, 2 acres out in Corrington, like in the late 60s, early 70s. And they would grow as much as they need out there. But then in their backyard, they always had a garden.
Yeah. And I started, man, just had a little plot here and there. At the house. I just like watching stuff grow. It's not like I was trying to feed my family. I just wanted to watch stuff grow. I gave more away than I ate.
Oh, okay.
For sure. And matter of fact, when I would take crop and take it to the church and give it to the church ladies. And,
nice.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet.
Oh my God.
And then when I talked about charging them, they said, "Well, we'll just go to Kroger." I'm like, damn.
Oh God. It's like I'm trying to make a living.
Yeah, I'm
here.
trying to make a living,
Oh my God.
But yeah, my grandmother she was 90 something, had become very frail, and she wanted to go watch me work in the garden.
Nice.
My dad had given me this huge plot, and it was right behind his house, so I literally picked her up and put her in the car, took her over there. I mean, because she was just that frail, but she was just so happy to be able to come out and tell me what to do in the garden.
Okay, I was going to say, there you go. So my grandfather is 6'2", my uncle is 6'2", the runt of the litter was 6'1", but my grandmother was 5 foot tall and 100 pounds, and she was the toughest one.
I bet she was.
She would call my uncle, the older brother, and say, all right, I need you to till up my backyard. It's time to start planting seeds. And you're like, all right, I'll come over this weekend. She was like, how about Thursday? Like, he was like, I guess I'll take off work to come. I was like, good Lord, okay.
Yeah. So that's what I think that it's kind of like I said, I just kind of grew up with it.
Yeah.
And again, I wasn't trying to learn the pH of the soil or anything that. I just like watching stuff grow. And I knew if I got a seed, put it in the dirt, it got some sunshine and water, eventually it's going to grow. And, so what happened, though, is I moved here. I was pastoring the church here. And in 2018, we started a community garden.
Okay.
And it was during that time that I became, I don't know if I want to say captivated by this idea of food desert and food insecurity.
Yeah.
The USDA says if 1/3 of your community is more than a mile away from a farmer's market or a grocery store, you're considered a food desert. So from where we were located, we were 2 miles away.
Yeah.
And this is right here in East Knoxville, right by Walter P. and everything. And, then I started learning things like there's an unverified statistic that like 70% of the community is probably doing their grocery shopping at the dollar stores.
I've heard, I had Charlotte from Nourish Knox, and that's the first time I'd ever heard the term food desert. I had no idea what that was.
And it's crazy because, because people are literally dying because they're not getting the right,
right.
But I mean, and particularly for African American community, the diseases that mess with us the most: obesity, hypertension, sugar diabetes.
Yeah,
all those things are related to what you're intaking.
Yeah, and
if you're going eating ramen noodles and all this processed food all the time, it has effect. And it just, I don't think there's no grocery store in this zip code 14. There's no grocery store in 15. and your zip code shouldn't determine your access
No.
to affordable food, right? And I mean, if anything ought to be available,
Yeah.
it ought to be food.
Yeah.
That's just basic to life. And so I'm like, well, let's see if we can do something about this. And so I started reaching out to some of my pastor friends who had land.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, why don't you do a community garden? And for me, it was kind of twofold. Number one, maybe threefold. Number one, it exposes people to gardening. Number two, it helps fight this whole food insecurity issue.
Right.
But three, it helps us to get to know our community.
Yeah.
I thought I was the community pastor. Okay. All right. And so when we started the community garden, I'm like, well, we need to get people in the community over here.
Yeah.
So I go knocking on doors. I had been here a decade, 10 years. And it was then I realized something. I felt like this tall, man. I mean, so small.
Oh, really?
Because I would knock on doors of people who lived right next door to the church.
Yeah.
And they would say, hey, Pastor Battle. And I'm like, and your name is... so the community pastor didn't know the people in his own community.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so it was very humbling for me.
Yeah.
But and I tell people, I said when we started the community garden, we started, I guess in May. We started kind of late, but those 4 or 5 months, that first year that we did I met more people in the community those first 4 or 5 months than I did the 10 years sitting in my office.
Wow, that's awesome.
I mean, people just coming by. It's amazing what can happen in the garden, man.
Yeah.
And so so that was that, and so that evolved into. So we got the other church, a couple other churches did start community gardens. Stop and Go.
Yeah.
I don't know if you go by there, you'll see a big old garden over there. He said, man, let's do it.
Oh,
and,
wow.
And
okay.
so Bridge Refugee, they're doing that. I'm gonna have to talk to some of my African brothers and sisters because they can grow some corn. I don't know. I can't grow nothing. But
I wish my great aunt was still alive because they had like 5 acres of corn up. So that was funny. Like my grandparents, there were certain things they wouldn't grow because they knew they could just drive up to Kentucky. And my great aunt, we were like, what do you need? You need corn? Okay, here you go. You got to go pick it yourself.
Yeah.
And I would be stuck in the basement shucking and pulling out the silks.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, I just want to be playing baseball or something.
I understand. So we got that going, and I'm like, it still isn't enough.
Right.
And so I reached out to Charlotte, actually.
Okay.
From Nourish Knoxville. I said, Charlotte, what's it going to take to get a farmer's market over here in the east side?
Yeah.
She said there were 4 or 5 other people who have been talking about this. There actually used to be one, but it folded.
Okay.
And she said it was Vivian Williams with Women in Agriculture, Stan Johnson with Seed, Tanisha Baker with 5 Points Up, and of course Nourish Knoxville. I said, well, I knew everybody. Some of them went to our church.
Yeah.
And so we reached out. We got together, and within almost a month or so, we had a farmers market.
Wow.
And
okay.
And so that was another, to let's begin to get some exposure, if you would. We had some interesting things happen. If I'm talking too much, let me know.
No, you haven't.
I guess that's what a podcast is about, talking.
I'm trying to, I try to not make this about me.
So one of the farmers was at Abbey Field.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and Abbey Field was a 2-acre urban farm, and the farmer there had some kohlrabi, and I'm like, what is this? She goes, it's kohlrabi. I'm like, what? I said, what's a kohlrabi? I'm like, babe, black folk don't eat kohlrabi. And so, do you know what kohlrabi is?
No.
Okay. I guess white folk don't eat it. But anyway.
Remember, I grew up on the east side, so
when I tell this story, I get the same response,
Oh, okay.
But only a few people I know know what kohlrabi is.
Yeah.
So anyway, she got one up. We had a guy that sold honey there. She cut it up, man, and started dipping in honey. It kind of has the texture of an apple, I guess.
Okay.
And it looks like a kind of looks like a cabbage with little stems coming out of it. But anyway, people started 4 years later. People are still coming back, asking for kohlrabi.
Okay.
And it's about exposure.
Yeah.
You know, and I think there's a lot of things that are going on in our community why people don't go to the farmer's market or eat fresh veg. You know, well, folks don't cook like they used to.
Right.
You know? I mean, and then and fresh vegetables are expensive.
Yeah.
Expensive. You know, so my goal is to make it affordable, accessible, and you know that. So that happened. So we got the farmer's market. We got the matter of fact, it's still going on. It goes on every Sunday. I might as well give it a plug. It's called the East Side Sunday Market.
Okay.
It runs from June through September.
Okay.
September 26th will be our last Sunday. It's the East Side Sunday Market.
East Side
so
Sunday
it goes from
Market.
1 to 4. Our thinking was folks would come out of church and go get some collard greens.
There you go.
And but the 26th is going to be cool because we got some folks from the symphony who are going to come and do a concert. It's going to be a benefit for Austin East, you know. But yeah, anyway, so we got the farmers market going. We got the community gardens going. Just 3 or 4 of them, but it was a start. The young lady that was running Abbey Field left, and they needed somebody to run it. Abbey Field was connected to the old Standard Knitting Mill.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the people that owned the Standard Knitting Mill was leasing it out to them. Well, when she left, for some reason, I raised my hand and took it over. Like, damn. I didn't know there's a difference between farming and gardening, man.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and
oh god, yeah, yeah. That's where the pH balance and all that stuff comes into play.
And we were doing CSAs. You know, CSAs are community supported agriculture. People gave me X amount of dollars at the beginning of the year, then I had to provide them so much food.
Right.
You know, well, I'm like, are they going to have a whole box of peppers?
And maybe a tulip.
And maybe yeah, you know. I mean, it was a challenge. It was really a challenge, you know, and because people are dependent on it because we're gonna take it to the market.
Yeah,
know? And so that's how I rebranded it to Battlefield Farm as a play on my name.
Nice.
1, but 2, because I felt it was a war zone fighting this food disparity in this food desert because we wanted to become an oasis here.
Yeah,
that property sold.
Okay.
That property sold.
As someone who grew up here, that entire little area is a struggle. Yeah. Because I grew up going to Bill Meyer Stadium, going to the baseball field there, and seeing it go away, and then seeing Standard Knitting Mill just sit there and disrepair every single bit of it. I'm like, who do I need to punch? Who do I need to punch? Like,
I could think of some folks. So I don't know if you. So I would go by. I lived right down the street from there.
Okay.
And I would go by every night around dusk just to make sure everything was cool.
Yeah.
And see that statue there?
Yeah.
Okay. So I go by one night, and I'm like, "Who's this white woman by the farm stand?" And the closer I got, I'm like, "Why is she not moving?"
Oh God!
And somebody just dropped that statue off. You know?
Really?
Yeah, and that thing heavy.
Well,
yeah. So we put her out. We put her here. I named her Geraldine, the goddess of the garden.
Oh my God!
Yeah. And so ended up what happened. I got another piece of property around the corner. There's a couple that's letting me use their backyard.
Okay.
They got 4 acres.
Oh wow. Oh,
yeah. We're not farming all that, but they got farming just a little bit. And then I bought this property here.
Okay.
And so this was the first year that we operated here.
Okay.
So we're still in process.
Was there a house here before?
I believe there was a house here, and I think it was also a place where they were dumping because you can see all the rocks and stuff. It's almost I couldn't even put a mailbox up out here because every time I get my post hole digger, it was like it's rock, you know. But yeah, And hey, buddy, how you doing? Good. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Okay.
They the little segue. Our I played ball up at Fulton, and our
Okay.
practice field we call Rock City because it looked about
Yeah.
like this. And I went to a funeral or receiving of friends earlier this year, which is the mortuary's right behind it. And I looked over there and I saw grass all over it. I was like, hey.
What? No problem, buddy.
I was like, hey, wait.
Yeah.
These kids aren't going to be tough. They're not going to cut up their knees. Come on. They probably have water that doesn't come out of a PVC pipe.
Yeah. So we but like I said, the over here it's just very rocky. That's why we got the raised beds.
Okay.
You know, so I got about 40 raised beds.
Wow.
30 out here and a few inside the high tunnel. I want to put about 15 more out, but lumber is so expensive right now,
Yeah.
you know, and to do one bed with 2x12s, it might cost $70, you know.
Wow.
So I came up with an idea. I'm using bathtubs.
I was going to say, I just noticed 2 bathtubs sitting there.
Well, there's actually 4 of them over
Okay.
there. Yeah, I got 4 of them over there. And I got a worm farm over here, too.
That's
And
funny.
I'm using bathtubs for them. So, yeah, I'm going to, because I bought those for $25 a piece.
Oh, my
I think.
God.
Yeah. So, you know. So that's our goal here. And what this place for me has become, this is my I call it my place of shalom, my place
Okay,
of peace.
nice.
You know, our principles are if you can see on the tire, you can't probably see it from here, but there's 3 terms on there. It's agape, which means unconditional love, shalom, peace, Jewish concept of wholeness and harmony, and Ubuntu, which is an African concept of I am because we are.
Okay.
And that's what I want this place to be. So, you know, our mission statement says we are fighting food disparity and creating community.
Yeah.
And so everybody's welcome here. You know,
Okay.
even if you got to use the outhouse.
That's great. With all the different ones, are there, or even with the food disparity, like, are there specific crops you plant to do that? Like, here's something like tomatoes that are kind of universal and easily usable.
I got so many tomatoes. Okay. I don't know what to do. I'll take you through the high tunnel.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, actually what I did last year is I put it out on Facebook, which I want.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and people
Crowdsourcing.
told me, yeah. And is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Okay. And and so I did that, and I'll probably do it again this year.
Yeah.
And so we tried to honor that as much as we could. And again, we didn't do as well as we wanted to this year because we were in process. I mean, we're still putting beds out, you know, now the season's over almost.
Yeah.
You know. So that's what but we got beans, greens, and tomatoes, and cucumbers, and squash, and butternut squash, and I mean just a little bit of everything.
Okay.
You know,
I think what I see a lot of friends and stuff, they do like basil and stuff.
Yeah,
you know, the
I got mint.
seasonings.
I got every mint you got. I got peppermint, spearmint,
Wow.
apple mint, pineapple mint, chocolate mint, mojito mint, mint julep. Okay, I got every mint but government. I don't have any government over there. I'm not growing that. Okay.
That needs to be on I got every mint but
Well, listen, why don't you do that since you're the artist?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you're the graphic
I gotta
designer.
write that down.
Every mint
Yeah.
but government.
every mint but government. I gotta make a note of that. Are there any like issues with farming within like a city? Like, do you have to? Because I think, you know, cars and stuff. Is there anything you have to? I know you don't check pH or anything, but
Yeah, well, we do actually.
Okay.
And we should. Again, I learned so much because certain plants grow at certain times and in certain types of soil, and we were excited this year just getting this started, and so I was we had got some horse manure. and put it in there. Well, I didn't realize you shouldn't use straight manure.
Oh,
Let
really?
it. You should have let it. I should have let it compost.
Okay.
And I tried to grow some greens in there. I mean, it was mixed with the soil, and tried to grow some greens in there, but it was so much nitrogen, and it just caused the greens to bolt. So stuff like that you begin to learn, you know. And every it's a learning process. Take care, buddy. Randy, right? No, Ricky. I got the R and the Y right.
Let's see. That and like bugs or like
I haven't
critters.
had much. Interestingly enough, I hadn't had much trouble with bugs this year.
Okay.
I do have a groundhog, and I have a rabbit.
I don't know what it is with groundhogs, but we started getting them in my neighborhood 4 or 5 years ago, and they're just everywhere.
I despise
them and rabbits. Drive me
groundhogs.
nuts. Yeah.
Man, was it 2 years ago? I had put out 72 slits of sweet potatoes.
Oh, wow.
Came back the next morning. They were all gone.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so Battlefield became between
battlefield.
Me and him. Yeah, I can tell you some stories, but it might be illegal.
Oh. I was going to say, you're watching Caddyshack and writing down notes.
Right.
Like, how did he handle that? I got to figure out ways to get it.
Yeah. By the way, this is my youngest son, Josh. Yeah.
Hey.
He's 9. I have 20 children.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we adopted 16 of them.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't even like kids.
Except for him.
Except for him. Most of the time.
Most
of the time. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, but that's enough of that.
Yeah.
That's why I come here to get away from that.
Oh my God. Well, my grandfather, he in the basement of their house, he made keys, and he knew how to do everything, like plumbing, electrical, all that stuff. And it was always funny. Like my grandmother, like I said, she went to church, and all of the women that went there that she was friends with, all their husbands had passed. So I got to hold the flashlight a lot, going with my grandfather, fixing a sink, fixing, all that. And it would always be, because he was a very tough guy, and he would always just be like, they would try and pay him like $5 or something. He'd be like, all right, give it to the boy. He would just give me, it's like, cool, I'm going to get ice cream. Awesome. Like, what are we doing?
Nothing wrong with holding the light.
No. So even though you do all the farm, like, do you also encourage people to like even start their own garden in there?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's kind of the reason why we're doing the tubs.
Okay.
To show people that you don't have to have all this land.
Right.
I got buckets out here we're growing stuff in.
Nice.
Tires. I mean, you don't need all this space. And see, my whole thing is, Jody, is that if we can get people in our community to grow, now you might not be able to grow everything you want.
Yeah.
But maybe you can grow tomatoes. Maybe your next door neighbor can grow cucumbers.
Yeah.
Maybe the neighbor next door can grow onions.
Yeah.
Maybe the neighbor next, can grow squash.
Yeah.
You can trade, because guess what? Your tomato plant is going to yield more than one tomato.
Yeah. Yeah.
Share, barter, create community.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's what our foreparents did.
Yeah.
And you just trade and barter back and forth, talk, everything.
Yeah. And
that's what I would love to see. We really wanted to start this place off as a teaching farm.
Yeah.
And so our goal is, and probably gonna be next thing, 'cause like I said, this year we just worked on getting this plot together.
Yeah.
And but we plan on having teaching sessions here on how to garden, when to farm, when to plant, how to nurture it, how to care for it, how to can it, how to cook it, the whole thing. But we're probably that's the goal, to have that next year, next season, to get all that going.
Because I know, wasn't Nourish Knox doing a farm at AE or right next to AE there for a while?
I don't know.
Or maybe she was working on that, trying to make that to happen.
Well, I know
remember.
that AE does have a greenhouse.
Maybe
they have a greenhouse there.
Maybe she helped.
Yeah.
But she was talking about, saying when she was talking about the food desert, she was like,
And there is an area that they were doing a little couple of raised beds in there.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Maybe
think Vivian Williams actually was
Okay.
kind of working on that. Yeah.
But I think it was like, you. I love Charlotte. I need to preface that's the bless her heart. Like I love her, but I laugh at some friends like that. They're like, "Oh no, you have to eat everything 100% organic." I was like, if I eat frozen corn from, I gotta do what I gotta do. Sometimes I was like, sometimes it's just harder.
Or well, see, and again, we're not considered organic.
Yeah,
we're considered probably more natural. To get organic status, I would have to have my compost pile checked, because maybe the horses or the cows that poop, maybe they were eating grass or something that had been sprayed with
pesticides
right.
or whatever.
And so so that would disqualify this place from being So yeah, we're considered natural. We don't use any pesticides or herbicides or Miracle Grow as much as I want to.
Oh God,
But I do use worm casting. So
what is worm casting?
So I'll show you the worm farm.
Okay.
The Battlefield Worm Farm. Okay. So we got I got a tub full of manure, right?
Okay.
And there are worms in there, red wigglers, and they will do their thing.
Yeah.
And that'll become compost.
Okay.
Okay. And then, but when it gets wet and water goes through, that we catch that water. Okay. And then I put it on the plants. Okay. It's good and black.
Yeah.
But it's full of nutrients.
Okay.
Yeah. So they call it worm castings.
It's almost like with animals where you waste nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think that's the cycle of nature, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a cycle of nature.
Do you think what you're doing is a future way of farming? To where, because I'm a news junkie and I always read the weird stuff about Monsanto and and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because I know it's awful and it's anger.
Yeah.
But do you think it is more of like community garden, or hopefully?
Hopefully it is.
Yeah.
Hopefully it is. I'm just concerned that people are not getting the proper nutrients they need.
Yeah.
Because it's easier to get some Doritos or noodles, that are highly processed and it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Than getting something that's fresh from the garden.
Yeah.
I'll probably never become rich off of this. I mean, I work so I can do this.
Right.
Right. Because I'm like, people come even to the market, and I might get in trouble for this one, but no, I mean, it's like,
okay.
You don't have to,
Okay.
But I mean, if they don't have the money then just give me what you got to take.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'd rather you have it than to need it and not have it.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, when we had at the church, when we had a fence called the gleaning fence, and it's based off the old Jewish concept of leaving the corners of your field unharvested.
Mm-hmm.
They would leave the corners of the fields unharvested, and it was for the poor. So they could come and get it. And so what we did is everything on the fence that we grew, we used the fence as a trellis, but everything on the fence was for the community.
Okay.
And then what started happening, which was beautiful, is that people who had plots in the garden would start taking their excess and putting it on the fence.
Nice.
And people were coming by every day, man, just to get some okra or whatever. I'm like,
so not to go back to the beginning, but the thing about, is America a good idea? That's the stuff I think about.
Yeah.
I was like, man, as much as we beat one another up and yell at one another, you see like what's happening in New Orleans right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
The banks to give blood will be vast and wide.
And I just hate that it has to be tragedy.
Yes.
I don't know. You can't. My flags are all messed up right now. But
we finally gotten wind in the last week.
Yeah, that's enough of it. So the first flag there is the Cherokee Nation flag.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know. You see the blue one? See that?
Yeah.
Right there on the front and the on the railroad tie.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
No, you're not looking at it right
Oh,
there.
I'm looking at that
Yeah,
blue.
I know. Yeah,
oh,
that's right.
sorry.
You see the blue and the white.
Yeah.
And there's a yellow and a red one over there on the telephone pole. There's
Oh.
another one over here. I think it's a black one. There's a green and gold one on the other.
Okay.
But we had Cherokee brother come and dedicate and bless the land.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so there's tobacco in those things. Those are offerings to the forefathers. But I wanted to honor them because this was their land first.
Yeah.
So I got that, then a Black Lives Matter flag, and then there's a unity flag there with a different colored fist. Then there's that other one that it says inclusion, unity, and different things, but it spells peace. And
nice.
And I'm like, until all those flags count, the
Yeah.
American flag really doesn't.
Yeah.
And because I think that's what the idea of America, that everybody should be able to come here and,
I was telling a friend the other day, I can't remember what brought this back up, but it was the time right after 9/11 when all of a sudden it was like we are one, we are America kind of thing. And it was like a lot of shots of the West and all. I was like, yeah, why are we not? What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Why are we yelling at one another?
Yeah.
It's stupid. Like
it really, really is, But I mean, I got some thinking on that, but
yeah. Oh yeah, and I know that's why I would say a good idea, not good in practice.
Yeah.
Like we've not hit it.
We're horrible at it.
Yeah.
We're horrible at it. But see, here's the thing about it, man. So I'm gonna tell you my story here.
Okay.
When I first moved here, in 2008, I got the church to go and clean Oddfellow Cemetery.
Okay.
You may know where that's at.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Oddfellow Cemetery was a mess. It's African American. Most people buried there were born in slavery.
Yeah.
And I said, this is an embarrassment.
Yeah.
And I'm not even from here.
Yeah.
So we went over there, man. It's about 20, 30 of we're mowing, we're chainsawing, we're raking, we got bags and bags of debris in the corner of the cemetery. We're putting headstones back up. This brother pulls up in a pickup truck and starts thanking us for what we're doing. And he's going on and on and on and on. So he stopped me, just talking to me, man, I appreciate what you guys are doing. Da, 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 da. So I'm like, well, brother, why don't you come join us at the church?
Yeah.
And he looks me in the eye. And these are the words he said, and I quote, and I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
I ain't coming to your damn church. And he pulled off.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And it plagued me. It really plagued me. Because even here in Knoxville in 2016, First Baptist Concord did a study on church attendance. And this is the buckle of the Bible Belt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only 20% of Knoxvillians go to church on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And regulars once a month.
Yeah.
So folks aren't going to church. And I'm like, well, maybe we need to do church differently.
Yeah.
So then this happened in 2018, and my life took the trajectory of my life. I got 2 master's degrees in religion.
Wow.
I'm prepared to retire from pulpit preaching in a robe. I did not think I was going to take my robe off and put on some overalls, and not grow government.
Yeah.
And
have a tub full of worms.
And the crazy thing was, man, when we got this manure, right?
Yeah.
There was all these worms in there. And I couldn't believe. I'm like, man, I need to get these worms. And I'm getting in. I'm putting this. I'm grabbing the worms. I didn't have gloves on either.
Oh, God.
I'm grabbing the worms. And I looked up and told who I said, I got my hands in shit. Sorry. Don't use that word.
I'm gonna quote my dad every time he would do something like that. He'd look at me and go, "Don't tell your mama.
Don't tell your mama.
Don't tell your mom."
Well, she might use it more than I do. But anyway, hey, baby.
Oh, yeah, my mom said.
But I'm like,
yeah,
I never would have done this.
Yeah.
My manicured fingers never would have went in the grip.
Yeah.
So, but what happened, man, with the beauty of this place is it attracts people who never would have walked into the doors of my brick and mortar church.
Yeah.
You know, I got atheists that come here.
Yeah.
I got white folks that come here. You know,
I like that. That's the part I had to whisper.
but they wouldn't have come to my church,
Right.
or they weren't coming.
Right.
You know, somebody asked me. I was asking a white friend of mine about coming to church. She goes, "Are there any white people?" I'm
oh
like,
my God.
"There's three white women because they like black men." But anyway.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but anyway.
Well, my grandmother's church was Broadway Baptist, which was huge, and then they sold off like half of it, and it's now I don't know how to put this politely, an old folks home. Like it's a whatever, and it's funny going there, and it was always about what you wore. You had to wear all that, and then I went to, I think it's the Presbyterian Church on Magnolia one weekend. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah, but see, you know,
I was
here,
like, I'm not falling asleep here.
but here it's like, you know, it's a welcoming place. We got people come with different political persuasions.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And because when I tell people I'm a pastor, they quit cussing, they hide their liquor, conversation changes, and they get away from me.
Yeah.
I tell them I'm a farmer, they start telling me what color their thumb is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know.
Oh, yeah.
And conversations are. I'm like, well, I'd rather have that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know. And so this is and that's the beauty of the place for me. You know.
Yeah.
Just coming, man. Just you can be here. You know.
And I will say, I'll end on this. My I've got two of my closest friends, Adam and Amy Kennedy. They got involved and helped start a church in South Knoxville called Bridge Church. Mm-hmm. Anthony, I can't pronounce Anthony's last name. But what Anthony did was he was like, I want to know what this community needs before I start a church. Mm-hmm. So he went around but Adam and Amy kind of would like doing something like this, I think. And it's because I also look at South Knoxville has some areas that it's like, this is not good. Like, it's just very these kids, this would be great for the kids too. That's
well, see, Sunday mornings we gather around here right up under the tree, you know.
Nice.
And actually we have a thing called Tree Talks too. I don't know if you've seen that. So Tree Talks is what we come up under the tree.
Yeah.
We'll pick a subject and we'll talk about it. So Tree Talk. Our first one was critical race theory.
Starting out strong.
Well, because here's my thinking. If we're going to be community, if we're going to create community, we got to talk about those issues that divide us.
Right.
And it's a safe space. And if we talk about it, define it, people understand it.
Yeah.
I think we're more likely to have the community that we really want.
Yeah.
Then we did the Netflix series High on the Hog. It's about Africa. You need to check it out.
Okay.
It was about African American cuisine. Last week it rained. It was supposed to be this week. It got postponed because of the rain. But we're going to do a defund the police.
Oh my God.
Question mark. And then this so we're going to change that to the 14th. And this Tuesday we're going to do one on trees. Did you know? I know you said the last thing, but
there it is. High on the Hog. I'm adding it so I do not forget.
The communities that were redlined in the 50s and 60s. You familiar with redline? Yeah. They have found that the heat index in those communities now is 10 to 20 degrees hotter.
Why does that not surprise me? Yeah.
But why? Because it's not a whole lot of green space, not much tree canopy. A lot of concrete, asphalt. So what happens? You get more heat-related diseases.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And then also, folks' tempers get short.
Yeah.
When it gets hot.
I thought about this I was 2 months ago. I'm friends with Kim at It's Also Yummy Cafe in West Knoxville. Mm-hmm. So here's another reason you may like my dad. When I was growing up, he was like, there's Knoxville and there's West Knoxville. It's two different cities. He was like, but I love Kim to death. But my cousin and I were sitting out there, and I was boiling. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm in West Knoxville. It's all concrete out here. Like, it's all blacktop and concrete. And that got me thinking about, like, Atlanta. And I was like, I guarantee Atlanta is, like, probably 10 to 15 degrees hotter than it should be because it's all concrete and asphalt.
Now, Knoxville isn't that bad here, you know. I think we have a decent... Well, we're going to talk about that Tuesday, actually. You know,
okay.
We'll talk about the tree canopy and everything. But I don't think people really understand the significance.
Oh, yeah.
The significance of trees, you know.
Yeah,
I think that I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree.
I walk, or I did, every Friday with a friend of mine, and he lives in 4th and Gill, and it would be like 10 degrees cooler because it's all tall trees, whereas where I live in the Fulton area, I was like, I'm dying. Like, it is so hot.
You walk right outside, you know, and I almost cut this tree down, man.
Oh, no.
Yeah, when I first got, I'm like, we'll cut this tree down and use all this for.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I did.
Oh, yeah, for
I'm
sure.
so glad I didn't, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Man, thank you. Good to meet you. And
here, I'll say this. I look forward to your upcoming podcast. That's how we'll end.
Yeah, we'll call it I Ain't Coming to Your Damn Church.